everybody and welcome on today's video. Today is a big day for this tree because he's going to get in its first bonsai pot. It's a fusion privet which has grown quite well the last year, lost all its leaves in the hot summer and then got them back in September. So yeah, well, it was a double flush year for this tree. This tree was a part of a You Choose the Pot episode on the channel, and well, this pot came out as the winner. So let's try to get this into this pot. And yeah, well, of course, I'll have to do some measurements for that. Because this pot is not really super deep, it's, well, that's what I have, and I hope that is sufficient to get this tree in. So let's have a closer look. Now, as you might see, most of these little privets are growing on top or through these holes in the, well, I called it a fusion plate. It's not really an existing word, but okay. So the thing is that it's now impossible to get rid of this thing. So I really need to get this tree in the pot that deep so that more surface roots can form and grow over this fusion plate, so that in a later stage I can remove most of the roots under this plate and that the tree survives with these ones. Now that's gonna be the first problem, and therefore I will have to cut a whole lot of the roots back, so let's hope this does well. Now it's a good moment to do that because, well, if you have a look at the buds here, they're swelling, and I have a couple of cuttings that I need to include here. So they also have swelling buds, so yeah, it's now that I can do that. So I'm gonna get this one out of the pot and then see how much I have to cut off of the existing roots. So let's go. That shouldn't be too hard. No, it was not hard at all. Now I need, this is the maximum height that I have, up to here. So yeah, I'm gonna need to cut off a whole lot. I think it's gonna be that. Let me measure that again. Yeah, even here. Now this will be everything that needs to be removed. So yep. Now, of course, these are all cuttings in this pot, which means that there is no taproot or anything like that. And I hope that I can get away with that. So I'm going to cut around here, and I'll be back when this is done. I think this is the final cut. Yep, I think it's loose. Well, okay. Let me clean up this whole thing here. Still got my marker for the front. Okay, so this is done. Now I can put this tree in the new pot, which is really nice, so it fits. That's why I measured it. So let me just lower the camera to have a first look at this. So this is not bad. Well, the front is somewhere here, and I remember that I said that I had to tilt it a little bit to this side, so that's also good. That can be done. Then maybe I'll have to scratch the bottom of the root ball here, and I can still win 1 centimeter without cutting off any roots. But of course now I need to get some trees to add here where there is, well, there are a few gaps, and I have still some cuttings here, so I'm going to get these cuttings loose, this one, and then I have one here. I'll try to plant them in the spots where there is nothing growing, so let's do that. So back in the tray, like that, and then I have a tree here that I will try to remove. That's a cutting, and I have one somewhere here, yeah, that I will also try to remove, which went really easy. And now I'm going to scratch the bottom here and get myself a extra centimeter, but I won't cut the roots here. Well, and then I'll have to get the spares, which is of course very important if I ever want to close this whole fusion. And not just close the fusion, but also work on a nice radial root pattern. So because I removed a lot of roots, there will be no cutting of the roots here, except maybe for this little thick one, which is going to cause quite some problems, but that's not gonna make a huge difference. The rest looks really nice with very fine roots, so that's good. Okay, now back in the pot. So this is the front, and as you can see, my fusion plate is under the lip of the pot, which is of course what I needed. Now I need to have a right angle, and I have to have a good front so that I can start potting this up and then add some more trees. So this is important. I'm gonna allow myself a few minutes to do this really right. And I'm going to start by putting some soil substrate. There's 0 organic in this mix. And I am mounting up a little more in the back so that this tree tilts forward. So I said this was, well, the front, something like that. I have a nice curve here, and this is supposed to be a back branch already. So, yeah. Now let me have a look. Well, I think the position in the pot is not bad. It's slightly off center, which I like, because we have a big branch here that will give some balance. For the rest, the tree is quite straight here, not really leaning forward, so I can maybe do it just a little more, like so. So that's good. Yeah, I think it's, well, it's looking good. So I'm going to add a little more soil now here to the sides, but not too much. And a little bit here in the front. And then I will have to add the new trees. But before I do that, I'm going to try to open up this root ball and mix the existing soil with the new substrate, because there's a fair amount of organic in the first soil. So this is going to take a couple of minutes, and I already will try to get rid of all the air gaps, which is a whole lot easier now that it's not completely filled. And there are parts where I don't need any more trees. Just going to work with what I have here and be patient and wait that it thickens. And then we'll get the new ones. Okay, well, soil is worked in. That's what we have. I think it looks good. Looks really nice. Of course, yeah, well, we have these gaps, and then, well, I'll add these little cuttings here, and I'm going to get some other cuttings. So let's do that. Let's get these ones. So this is the big pot with the cuttings. So, yeah, next to my ash fusion on the rock. So this, of course, is going to be very wet. So I'll get these out, and I think that I will have to wash the roots here. Very sandy mix here. Okay, so might take a couple of minutes to get them out, but then I will wash them. And then we'll see what we have. Well, they seem to have rooted very well, so that's nice. That means that they are strong and healthy. Okay, so that's one. I'm just loosening the soil and then trying to get them out one by one. Okay, second. Well, to be continued. Okay, so here they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so really good. And then 2 that I have on the other side. So I'm gonna wash this and then we'll come back. So these 2 were growing in the same pot as this one, and these are the ones that got out of the big pot, and well, there's quite a difference. But you see, they're all cuttings. And well, of course, I'm not sure that this will all work this year, so I'll just take a couple more cuttings, which is not a problem because these privets are part of my edge, so it's fairly easy to make cuttings of that. Now I have to add these cuttings here. Okay, that's maybe a little bit too much root here, and maybe I should get rid of some of the raffia here. Now there's a nail here to secure the start of the raffia, so if I remove that, the raffia will come loose quite easily. Like so. And there's another nail here, I see. Oh, that's just that. Well, let me clean up this raffia. Maybe I can even use these parts, but I noticed that this artificial raffia is really nice, but after one season it gets a little brittle, so I'm not sure that I will be able to reuse that to secure everything. So I got myself a bit of natural raffia. Okay, but first of all, close the gaps. So here I have a great root. And I will try to get as much as the roots in as I can. But of course this is going to be very tricky because these things are going to fall over. So maybe I'll just try to get them between the branches here so that they have some resistance before they fall over. So here again I'm just going to lead all the roots to one side. And not cutting any roots. That's a really big one. But here there are not a lot of roots, so this goes against the trunk. Okay. For the moment I'm not really worried about the top part here. First I want to close these gaps here, and all these roots, well, I'm just going to lead them around in the pot, which is something which is not ideal, but the first thing that I want is to have a good growing cutting here. And in the next 3 pots I'll deal with the rest of the problems. So if I can get one big cutting here, that will be fine. And this is not easy. Okay, so that looks good. So this one here. So that should close this gap. Over here. And I might be able to rake out the roots a little better, spreading them a little more, and I think that that's it for this part of the trunk. So I can cover this up with a little substrate. And that should hold everything a little better in position. And tucking these roots in, they will circle the pot, which is no problem because that's the first thing that you remove in the next 3 pots. So That's good. I like that. I hope they just stay here. So now, yeah, I could add 2 here, but I don't know if I have enough. Probably have. Okay, so 2 here, big one and a small one. So the biggest one, I'll just remove these top roots, and the big one goes here, and I'll block him with a few branches, and then a small one that goes here. So that's good. Okay, I still have some spares, so still can fill some gaps. Here in the front, this would be great if I could close that with some cuttings. Okay, so I have this one or this one. I'm not sure what I'm gonna use. I like this one, so I'll put it here. And then this one over there. Okay, well, that's working. Still got some spares, so here I like that. Here it is starting to become a little congested, but yeah, could add that one. Let me see. Well, here this is closed. And I still have tree cuttings. Oh, I'm gonna add another one in the front. Okay, 2 more. How about that? Okay, and one more. Where can I put one more? Well, here in the back there's maybe, I don't know. Well, it looks filled. I don't see any big gaps anymore. So maybe I'll just try to get all these ones a little more to one side and make room for the final one. Okay. So I used them all. I'm going to fill this up with soil now, tucking all the roots in. And then I will have to secure it. here they moved just a little bit, so the extra soil will keep them in position. So I'm working the substrate in now, and then I'll be back for the next part of the operation. Seems like we have a little sun in this gray end of winter. Okay, so I'll be back. Most of the soil is now worked in quite well, but now I need to secure the trees around the base, and therefore I have this piece of raffia that I just will open up and go around the base of the trunk. I'll get it through this loop here. And then gently compress everything while I'm looking at every new little tree. Well, that's looking quite okay. And I'm not really too concerned about the position of the new trunks. I'll deal with that once that I see that everything grows. That's a mistake that I made too often with fusion projects, I must say. Too many times I try to focus on the top part instead of focusing on the roots, because once you have the roots well established, it doesn't really matter. You can do a whole lot more with the top if your roots are healthy and your trees are strong. I'm going to secure this. That's it. And I'm going to fill this up with the rest of the soil that I need. And I'll be back. The soil is worked in, and here I have a little pot that I use to grow moss. And I will now just add pieces of moss here. Especially close to the parts where some roots are just still sticking out. So covering these roots with moss. Maybe just a little more here, like so. Now this moss will not survive if you do not cover the edges with something. Here I have a piece of raffia that doesn't look nice, so I mean, I know it's just rough work here, but okay, some moss here just for color. And a nice bit in the back. Okay. So now in between the moss pieces I'll add some extra substrate, and I will mount some substrate around the base of the trunk to make sure that this is well covered and that it stays moist. So here we have it. That's the tree in its, well, first bonsai pot, I must say. It started in a small bonsai pot, but well, it has been some years now. So let's hope that this works well, and that in a couple of weeks, when everything is settled and all the roots are established and the soil is settled, I can maybe start to put some of the little trunks a little closer to the trunk here and apply some pressure and finally close these holes on the foam. I think that's gonna be possible. So yeah, well, the pot is okay, I think. It's not the ideal pot for this tree, I think. I'd like to have a round pot, maybe glazed one would be maybe a little better. But hey, these pots are, well, quite expensive, and well, I think at the moment and for the time being, this is gonna be just fine. So I'll keep you updated on this one. If you don't want to miss it, well, please like, subscribe, notification bell, all these things. And that's it. So thank you for watching and see you next time.